honrado que justo después de 17 años haya regresado a los orígenes de la Casa de las Religiones Populares Cubanas. Esto fue una idea de Ariel James, de Alberto Lescay y de Julián Mateo Tornés.
The religion has its cults, its ceremonies, its rituals, its moral codes, it's a sort of hierarchy. That's what we call a religion. The deities or divinities. In the case of the Santeria, that's the one we are going to see just next. Santeria believes in one supreme God, so they are monotheists, although they have also some other divinities or deities that do not qualify as being the supreme God. The supreme God created everything. It's like a sort of energy, like a Big Bang. It's the Big Bang. An energy that's called Ashe. And this supreme God doesn't want to have anything to do whatsoever with us human beings. But this supreme God can communicate with the human beings throughout the intermediaries that are other divinities that are called orishas. And these orishas that are minor ones in comparison to this supreme God have human defects and faults. And so they understand us much better, so they can communicate with us very easily.
What's the connection of these religions and music?
I can say these religions are not only religions in themselves, but they are cultural complex, a whole cultural complex. Evidently, Santeria is one of the most rich religions in everything, in culinary and percussion and dances, everything. Even if the language has been influenced, the Cuban psychology could be also influenced by the legends and the things that go on in Santeria. The sayings of the Cubans, the psychology, the ways of conduct of the Cubans, the way we conduct ourselves in the streets, they might have to do also with all these religions. But the Cuban culture wouldn't be complete without this, and Cuban music wouldn't exist without the drummings and this influence that comes from all these religions. Other religions that are also popular in Cuba, like Catholicism and also Protestant churches also are very popular here. But this other religions that are here represented by some ritual object we have are popular in the sense that they do not constitute a church. They do not proselytize. They do not make any propaganda about themselves or their religions. So it goes on from generation to generation in Cuba that these ceremonies and rituals and this religion have been inherited by the population, and they practice these religions in their own houses. So what they have here is not a temple or a church or a public space where you should go, but they worship all these divinities or deities in their own houses. So that's what they call their house temples. We are talking about four main Cuban popular religions. We are talking about Santeria. That's very extended. First in the western part of Cuba, mainly Havana, Matanzas, and the center of Cuba. And then it expanded also and extended itself also to all the island. Also, we have here the Congo religions of Congo origin, which are also throughout the whole of Cuba. We have Spiritism, which has its different variants here in this part of the island, in the Oriental zone also. And also it exists also in the whole of the island. Then we have another thing that it's only in this oriental part of the island, but it is expanding itself also. That's voodoo, coming from Haiti. First, in the beginning of the 19th century, because of a revolution in Haiti, And afterwards, because of a lot of Haitians came here to Cuba for the harvest of the sugar cane during that epoch, the 1920s, 1930s, and many of them stayed here. Their descendants are yet here in some communities in the countryside, in the mountains, and they practiced what they call voodoo in the Petro branch of voodoo, which is the most impressive and more violent than the Rada. They have Petro and Rada, so they have the different gods or divinities, or loas as they call them, but the Petro loas are the most violent and impressive, and those are the ones who are most worshipped here by the voodoo priests. Some of these objects are real ritual objects. They have been worked upon, they say. When the moment comes, the worshippers or the practitioners or the priest comes here and performs the ceremony that is usually performed for every one of these ritual objects in Santeria or in Congo religion or any other of the religions we have here represented. So sometimes they wouldn't like us to take photographs of things like that because they feel that these objects are already consecrated objects, and if somebody takes a photograph of something like that, it will steal something from the object itself. You know, people that have this magical religious way of thinking think that way, that something has been stolen from them if we take photographs or something like that. This part is dedicated to Santeria or to the rule of Osha or to the cult of the Orishas, as they call it. With a little room up there that we call the room of the Osha. Then there's another part dedicated to Spiritism, a little room dedicated to Spiritism, and there is also a more big room dedicated to Congo things, or Palo, what they call the religion of Palo or Congo religion. And there's also another room that has something that's coming up that's completely different from persons that are not initiated in these religions, that are just have their visions and their dreams, and they are called upon to do some kind of religious work. That's something new coming out and very common now in Cuba. People that just individually just come out to the religious world and say, well, I have a mission to perform, I have something to perform. And there are religions that, in this case, they do not have so many things in common with the other religions. They have a mixture of everything, a borrowing. They borrow an influence, they take influence from all the other religions that are here existing in Cuba. So they could be everything, mixed, Spiritism, Congo things, and others. Who knows what? It's like a surrealist thing, what they have.
How many people practice the religions in Cuba?
Nobody knows exactly the quantity of the population that practices religions, but I would say it would be more than 80 or 90% of the population practices some kind of this religion, or sometimes has been influenced or has went to a consultation or to a ceremony. There are no data. There's no, but
research has been done to find out what.
But there's something again. It goes against some liberty of freedom of religions. You know, if you start asking all the persons, do you believe in this? You believe in that? They might well say that's my private question. It's not a question that you research workers should do. And we are not maybe allowed to make this kind of research work by our own with just doing that. Although we know that there are a lot of practitioners and whole communities of practitioners everywhere in Cuba. So we could say that more than 80% of the population has some kind of contact or is a practitioner or something like that.
And of those 80-90% of the population, I suppose many of those are Christians as well, Catholics.
Yes. These religions have one characteristic. All of them, they are not exclusive ones. They are inclusive and they are tolerant. Any practitioner, for instance, if they don't ask if I'm a Catholic or not. They don't ask if I have other beliefs or not when I go to a consultation with a priest. They just accept me with any of my troubles that I bring with me to the consultation with one of them. So if I want to be initiated, I might ask them that I would like to belong to this religion. And, well, maybe I have a crucifix and I'm a Catholic. They won't.
It's not an issue.
That's not an issue at all. And some of them are both. They practice this religion, they practice Santeria, and they also practice the Congo religion, and they also are going to church and also to the Catholic Church, and they also go to see a spiritist or something like that. So they are not they are very tolerant and inclusive, not like the other religions. The only ones between themselves, they might have some kind of separation, you know, that, well, you mustn't mix this with that one, or the sacred objects shouldn't be in the same space or room. If you are a palero or a santero, maybe the same ritual objects shouldn't be put in the same room in your house, or mustn't look at each other or be confronted with each other. So that's the only question that might be a little bit of difference. And spiritists, the ones who well, they have their own beliefs, say that they just reject a little this other religions because these religions make animal sacrifices and they charge some money for the consultations. And the spiritists always say, well, we never do that, we don't make any animal sacrifices, and we don't charge anyone, we give charity. That's some of the differences that might exist between them.
Santeria, does it have an original place in Africa, or
Yeah.
it comes from all over the place?
It comes from one part, southwestern Africa. It is, well, what they call, they themselves call this place Yoruba land. It wasn't what it is today, Nigeria, Togo, actual Benin and Ghana. It would be sort of a great extended region in which this Yorubas lived, with differences between them in dialects and things like that, but with a general worship of what they call the Orishas, and with the belief in the supreme God that they call in three forms, different ways, Olorum, Olodumare, or Olofin. But it's the same thing here in Cuba, with some new developments. And it also exists as you know, in Brazil, in Salvador de Bahia, and all this northern and Atlantic, because many of those slaves, when the fall of the Oyo Empire, were sold to slavery to the Portuguese, to the Spaniards, and the slave traders brought them to Cuba and to all this part of Brazil. There's also the other parts coming from Congo and other parts. And you could say that voodoo is a mixture of Congo with Yoruba religion, original Yoruba, original Congo religion, and also with Catholicism, and what we call a popular Catholicism. Why do we call it also popular Catholicism? Because it's not the Catholicism that the Catholic Church would want us to abide to. We are not so, we don't go to Mass so often, we don't go to church too much. We just get baptized. Our fathers, although they were not believers, always baptized you because it was the only way that you could have a record of your birthplace and everything, and the day of your birthday and things like that. So then people consider all themselves here Christians and Catholics, but they are not so abiding Catholics as in other parts, let's say in Spain or someplace else. The Spaniards here, although the Spaniards had a very bad fame because of the Inquisition and the Catholic Church, it was very far from Spain. And the people here were a little more adventurous and more tolerant in this case. They weren't so... They said, well, the king is so far from here. Spain was in war with the French or was in war with English. they illegally they made commerce. They did trade with the English and with and things like that. And well, after work, the slaves could engage in their drummings and plays and things like that. And they said, well, they are having a good time. I don't care about that. The slave owners didn't care or didn't make any investigation or about what the blacks were doing, the black slaves were doing at that moment. But this other places like, let's say, the English colonies didn't allow that to happen. They were, the Protestant church was more strict than the Catholic Church here. Some days, the Catholic Church just allowed the slaves to go inside and parade in the Catholic procession at the end of the procession and to play their drums and their things. That's how carnival.
Like carnival. Okay.
That's the origin of carnival also. Los españoles discriminaban menos al negro en general. Eran más aventureros, más dados a más libertinos, vamos a decir así, que los ingleses o que los franceses.
Fundador de aquí de la Casa del Caribe, fundador de los festivales del Caribe junto con Joel James, el creador de lo que es el Festival del Caribe y un buen investigador. Trabajó mucho en su trabajo investigativo aquí, contribuyó mucho a la Casa del Caribe, conjuntamente con Lardué, que es el jefe de religiosidad.
Pero ya cuando se logra este espacio, que era un desastre, lograron un almacén abajo donde se cuidaban los animales durante el festival, que lo donaba el zoológico gratis. Estaba hablando de paloma, gallo, cerdos, chivos, menos vacas, que no estaban autorizadas porque hace falta la leche para el pueblo. Ese era el almacén. Esto se arregló y poco a poco adquirió un carácter muy antropológico, donde no eran simples trabajadores. Todo el personal que trabajó aquí, incluyendo a Belardo Lardué, a Rosaida, Pura, eran personas que eran de alguna forma parte de su creencia religiosa y protegieron. Y cada oricha que estuvo en cada rincón estuvo consagrado. Si usted quiere saber un poquito más, va al Museo del Carnaval y entrevista a Pedro Luis Ramírez, que se tomó el trabajo de investigar un poquito de esto. Y el evento teórico del Festival del Caribe de Religiones fue siempre aquí, ya ahora en el Teatro Heredia. Se vinculaba el evento de religión con las ceremonias reales, con Pablo y Tato, que venían Pilón del Cauto, pero también venían los colegas de Barranca, venía Tití de aquí del CRIT, del Cobre, o sea, venían todos los practicantes y la Barranca, que por supuesto, yo estuve hoy en el desfile ahora este año y muchas personas muertas, pero queda el testimonio de lo que usted protegió y protege ahora. Entonces, siempre esto nadaba en alcohol, porque dice que en el alcohol es mejor que el formol. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.